Hello and welcome back. The XJ is finally finished and I could not be happier. It looks amazing and it runs perfectly. In this video today we're going to kind of put things to a close for this bike. So we're going to do a bit of a recap and go through things. Also going to talk about a little bit of a learning curve for me electronically. So we had a bit of a fault with the bike as I was working on it off camera that developed and caused me to learn far more than I ever thought I'd realise about electronics, all because of something that was very easily overlooked. And a friend of mine actually said, you might just want to check your wiring. So lesson learned. So the weather's nice, we'll do this recap, we'll get out on the road, we'll kind of find somewhere nice and pretty to sort of stop and have a little look to showcase the bike, get some nice images and things like that, and get some close-ups of the bike, which will be fabulous. And then that will put this one to an end. We can move on to the next project, which I can't wait. So without further ado, I think the weather's just so nice, we just got to get out on the road. Little bit of a recap first, and then we'll get moving. So how did we do on the MOT? Pleased to say we got a pass. Yep, full pass, no advisories whatsoever. Went through the entire bike, top to bottom, and yeah, big shout out to Michael. So as with any ride, always make sure you wear good bike gear, very, very important. So nice to be able to wear my summer jacket. So it's nice, it's all breathable, it's lovely. Okay. So I think we'll sit on her first, make sure I can touch the floor. Problem with me is I'm vertically challenged, so it's always tippy toes, which is very annoying. Okay, so we'll start her up. A little bit of choke. Just going to let her warm up a little bit. What a glorious day, perfect for a bike ride. Cool. Right then, let's go. So the first thing I noticed with this bike is just how well it turns in. And that's largely down to the fact it's got quite narrow tyres. So I think they're 120 on the rear and 100 at the front, maybe 90 at the front. I can't quite remember, but I'm sure somebody will comment on that. But it just means you can turn in really, really well. Also means you've got less tyre, in my opinion, for the road, but I don't think that's a problem. I have to say though, such a comfortable motorbike. Seriously comfortable. So, it's been a really good fun working on this bike. I've really enjoyed it. It's an incredibly comfortable bike, possibly a little bit tall for me, being 5'5". I do struggle to touch the ground. And also another little notice or criticism I've got is the kickstand or the side stand hasn't got a centre knobble or whatever they're called to allow me to extend it, which makes it quite difficult to extend the kickstand, which is a bit of a shame. Oh, some learners, that's nice. Perfect day for it. But once I'm on the bike, it's not a problem. I mean, height is no problem at all once I'm actually moving. It's when I stop is when it gets a little interesting. Got no shortage of power with this bike. It's about 100 horsepower, give or take, and most of them feel like they're still present, which is nice. So it's got plenty of legs if you need it. But it's one of those bikes I just love. It's nice to potter around on. You know, it's going to be reasonably good on fuel, so that's good. Incredibly comfortable. But for 35 years old, it's not bad at all. You don't get all the modern creature comforts, but to be honest, you don't really need them on this bike. So I went for the 6th gear there, forgetting it hasn't got one, so it's only 5 speed. But you know, we're doing 50 miles an hour at the moment, about 3,500 RPM, and it redlines at about 9.5, so I don't think it's too much to be concerned about not having that extra gear. It's not uncommon for 80s bikes to only be 5-speed. Let's open it up. No problem at all, loads of power. That's fantastic. It does lean in nice. So I was mentioning earlier about an electrical fault. Well, during some of the work that I was doing to the bike, it suddenly decided, for whatever reason, to drop out of 2 cylinders. So cylinders 1 and 4 left the party. And I really wasn't sure why. It had only been since I'd been working on the front end. But that little clue somehow missed me. Even though a friend of mine, Sean, which I think you've met or heard of in the previous video, he did say, "Are you sure it's not the wiring? Because you've disturbed it." And I thought, no, I know better. No, I don't. Definitely don't. So I started replacing a few bits. I didn't quite open up the parts cannon just yet, but I started troubleshooting. So I learned how to diagnose coils, how to test TCIs or CDIs, how to check if the coils were working and that sort of stuff, and everything sort of seemed to check out, although some of the pickups were a little bit low on, or one of the pickups on the on that side seemed a little bit low. So me being me, I thought, well, let's just replace the CDI or TCI, and I thought, well, that'll solve it. Plugged it in, no different. Did a few more tests and really started to suspect that the coil pickups were faulty, so I ordered from Germany a replacement set from a good used bike and put them back on, or put them on and fitted them, which took ages, to find still the same problem. Then I started looking at the basics, which was the wiring, and I should have really started there. So I started checking all the wiring front to back, and then decided to take the front headlight out again. In doing so, I discovered 2 sets of yellow wires with a single bullet connector on each. Both appeared to be yellow with a black stripe. Then I realised the previous owner of the bike with the front canopy, or the front nose cone, had painted it matte black, but they hadn't masked the wires. So most of the wires looked like they had a black stripe. So what I've invariably done is introduced 12 volts to the rev limiter. By doing so, essentially made 2 of the cylinders drop out, because I'm led to believe that's how it reduces the limit, or reduces the bike's ability to run, by dropping 2 cylinders. Because it was permanently on, it thought it was on maximum RPM, so of course 2 cylinders dropped out, that was that. The 12 volt feed was coming from the light unit. So yeah, double check your wiring, always. So there's a thing called Occam's razor, which is the obvious solution is usually the right one, and that absolutely applies in this case. So lesson learned, but we'll move on. So what a glorious bike to ride. So brakes are now starting to come good, which is nice. So they were a little bit spongy to start with, but they're now they seem to be biting as you would expect, which is nice. I mean, the bike's 35 years old. I think I mentioned that a few times, but the brakes are of a time, but they're still good. They're good enough. So what a machine, absolutely amazing. So I think what we'll do now is we'll find somewhere nice to pull over and have a little bit of talk about the bike and sort of showcase it. So it'll be nice to you guys to have a little look. Got some really nice countryside around here locally. a nice little vintage. A lot of classics around today. I'm assuming that's because we've got the road here. There's a place called the Silver Ball Cafe, and it seems to be a regular meet for bikers. Bikes everywhere. Going to slow up because there might be a nice place here to stop. Oh, not quite. It looks a bit muddy and boggy. No. I think I know the place. Slow down for the horses. It's just so nice, this. One thing I really like is it's shaft driven, so you don't get, your gear changes are really smooth. It's like silk in a way. It's kind of hard to describe, but it's such a lovely gear change. Oh, I think this will do nicely. Perfect. So this is the problem I have, being so tippy-toe, so I'm in neutral, is trying to find the kickstand. I don't think you can see. I have to put my left foot down completely flat to stabilise the bike, and then I've got to try and get my foot on the ball. And because my legs aren't quite long enough, it's a bit of a bit of a reach. Doable, but it ain't pretty. Right. Okay. So let's take this ignition off and see what we got. So not bad for a 35-year-old. Got some bug def on the front. Brakes are bedding nicely now. So she's not perfect, she's got a few little blemishes here and there, but I kind of wanted to keep it as original as possible so it didn't look like it had been restored. I wanted it to look like it was a survivor, and I'm pretty confident that I've achieved that. So the XJ900, what a survivor. 35 years old and still going strong. I'm really pleased with the way this has turned out, and I couldn't be happier with how it looks. So it looks really quite catching. I am very pleased actually that I spent the extra money to get this front nose cone, albeit it's now covered in bug death. Having that stripe that carries on really does make the difference, because I think without it, it just would not have looked right. So yeah, the XJ900. Can't keep them all. I'd love to keep it, but I do know it's going to make somebody very, very happy to own this bike and run it. So what a cracking machine, the XJ900. Don't underestimate it. It's a lovely bike. It might be a little bit old now in its years, but it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. As I mentioned in my previous video on the ZZR, these old bikes, they seem somehow just put a bit of a smile on your face. But no, these old bikes, they just give you a little bit of a grin, a little bit of a smile, a bit nostalgic, days gone by and all that stuff, and that's just absolutely wonderful. So you know, getting this bike recommissioned back on the road has been an absolute privilege, if I'm honest. I really have enjoyed myself. You know, and somebody else will get to enjoy the fruits of my labour, because I can't keep them all. If I'm honest, it is just a little bit too tall for me. It's fine when I'm riding, but it's the groundwork that's going to catch me out, and I don't really want to drop it. Put a lot of work into it. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the series on the XJ900. I've really enjoyed filming it. I've really enjoyed sort of going over my my journey. And if you can get some tips from it, then that's great. You know, like I said many times before, I'm not a trained mechanic by any means, and I learn by doing most of the time. I do sometimes have to research a few bits and pieces, but I find that's often for me the best way. So yeah, if you've enjoyed the channel, give it, or sorry, if you've enjoyed the video, will you give it a thumbs up? I really appreciate it. And if you want to see more content and me babbling away and messing around with spanners and old bikes, and probably new bikes at some point, then consider subscribing. I really appreciate it. You know, it doesn't cost much to subscribe, and if you want to follow the progress of these machines and the next one that I move on to, whatever it will be, then yeah, subscribe, get notified. That's what I say. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and I can't wait to see you all in the next one.